Welcome everyone. So I'd like to welcome you to today's presentation. My name is Patrick Pheasant. I'm the Chief Executive Officer at NIAS, and I'm very, very happy that we're working today with Austrade. So without further ado, I will pass over to our contact at Austrade in Bangkok, Busaran. Over to you, Busaran. Thank you.
Thank you, Patrick. All right. Good afternoon, everybody. Thank you for joining us and welcome you all to NIAS webinar in the topic of the quality assurance and leadership in English language teaching. My name is Busarin Sintunavarat, Educations Manager, Austrade Bangkok at Australian Embassy. I will be your moderator of this session today. In order to keep this webinar go smoothly, I would like to introduce some housekeeping rules. Next, please. To reduce background noise, audience microphone is on mute, please, during this presentation. This webinar will run within an hour. There will be a dedicated Q&A at the end, so please type question and answer question in the chat box. And we will have NIAS and Austrade staff to support you during this webinar. Please note this session is being recorded, and a copy of presentation and recording will send to your email after this webinar. Next, please. We would like to start with a very brief opening remark delivered by Austrade, followed by an introduction to NIAS by Dr. Patrick Pheasant, our key speaker for this session, who will continue on to conduct a NIAS professional workshop. We will hold a Q&A session before the end of this webinar. So this is an agenda for today. Next, please. To set the scene, I'm very pleased to provide a very quick overview of Australia's general education landscape, including our extensive education quality system. Australia is leading provider of consistently high quality education and is diverse in terms of courses, a wide range of study options and opportunity, with over 22,000 courses available across 1,100 institutions, including 43 universities, almost 700 registered training organizations, over 100 English language colleges, and hundreds of primary and secondary schools. As the third most popular education destinations in the world, Australia is well established for its excellence across every discipline and at every level of education. Next, please. Also, delivering quality education over many decades is the result of a rigorous system of quality control and government accreditation. For the English language teaching sector, the Australian system requires providers to adhere to the National English Language Intensive Courses for Overseas Students Standard, ESOT Act, the TPS, and the National Code. NIAS, which you will hear about in more detail soon, embodies Australia's extensive quality framework and system in their endorsement services, which help achieve quality outcomes for English language teachings globally. Our regulatory system is highly adaptive to ensure quality continue to be upheld for qualification delivered in and out of Australia, and as a provider move online during this COVID-19 period. Now, it's my great pleasure to introduce you to our key speaker for this session, Dr. Patrick Pheasant. as a Chief Executive Officer at NIAS Australia. Dr. Patrick brings a dynamic system perspective to a global outlook with 25-year experience in applying drama, English language teaching, and teacher training methodologies across independent high school, vocational education, higher education, corporate sector in Japan, the Netherlands, the United States, and Australia. Dr. Patrick has held multiple senior management positions in international education and have extensive experience in change management. The floor is yours, Dr. Patrick. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Visaren, and thank you, Austrade, for this opportunity. And as Visaren mentioned, there's opportunity for questions at the end of this presentation. So pop your questions into the chat room and we'll endeavour to answer those at the end. If we don't get to everybody's questions, we'll be following up with the questions after this session. So let's begin. And I'm a teacher by trade, and I love teaching. My background's in using drama to teach English. And I don't know about you, but I've had a really steep learning curve trying to get some of my drama techniques through the video into my students' spaces. So bear with me, we're going to have a bit of fun, a little bit of some serious stuff, and hopefully give you some ideas about quality assurance in English language teaching. Let's start though with a physical warm-up. So it doesn't matter where you are, if you're at home or in your office, I'd like you just to raise your shoulders. Just say in a small or big voice, raise your shoulders. Are you ready? Everyone together, raise your shoulders and lower your shoulders. Excellent. Turn to the left and stretch, and turn to the right and stretch, and just shake it out, shake out your hands and shake out all the stress of a long morning. And now you're ready to listen and to enjoy. I want you to think of some focus questions before we begin. So this is just to give you a bit of context for today's presentation. I'm really interested to understand what your experience with quality assurance in English language teaching is. What background have you got? Are you a teacher? Are you a manager? Are you a professional staff member? Do you engage in quality assurance, or is this all very new to you? So this is one question to ask yourself. A second question to ask yourself is, what type of professional development do you think suits Thai teachers of English? From your perspective, when you're teaching English or you're involved in teaching English, what type of professional development do you think is great for people in Thailand teaching English? You could choose the third question to think about. How can Australia and the ASEAN region work more collaboratively to enhance English language teaching? This is one thing to consider. Or another focus question, how can teachers be leaders? So I'd like you to choose one of these questions, and I'm just going to give you 60 seconds just to write down a bullet point yourself on answering this question to yourself. So choose one, 60 seconds to actually write down a note on answering this question for you, any one of them, 1, 2, 3, or 4. Okay, another couple of seconds. You've taken down some notes. This is to give you some context for today's presentation. So we're going to come back to these at the end. Okay, so for those of you that don't know NIAS, we are a quality assurance in English language teaching specialist. We're independent, we're not part of the government, and we are experts in English language teaching. We've been around for 30 years. And we designed a set of standards that has been used in Australia for 30 years now. So we are very relevant and currently updating our standards and building new services for people who are engaged with our organisation. Everything I'm talking about today you can find on our website, and we can send further information about any of the professional development services we offer, any of the endorsement services we offer, and also opportunities for membership for people outside of Australia. So it's all there on our website. So please check out our website after this presentation. NIAS actually globally benchmarks its own standards against other quality assurance agencies around the world. We belong to a consortium that is made up of 8 different quality assurance agencies. Some are in the US, some are in Canada, some are in England and Europe, and South Africa and Malta. We benchmark our standards against those quality assurance agencies, and we know that we have one of the highest standards and aspirational elements in the world. So we undertake this quality assurance and this benchmarking on an annual basis, and it really helps us understand what other people are doing around the world and what we're doing in Australia. We have 167 member centres around Australia, and also 57 member centres in Southeast Asia, ASEAN, China, and the Middle East. So we are not just in Australia, we also quality assure other English language centres around the world. I think what makes us really useful and unique is all of our professional development, and these are all available to you as a participant of this workshop. So after the workshop, there'll be some follow-up information on how to access our online courses at no cost for you as a participant of this workshop. So we have heaps of online courses, a lot of webinars, and also we have a conference that we run both in Sydney and online every year, and you're also invited to participate in that conference as well. We're very proud to have Mahidol University International College Preparation Centre for Languages and Mathematics as an endorsed NIAS centre. They joined NIAS in 2019, and we're very, very happy to have them on board. And we would love to welcome more centres and more organisations to join the NIAS family. So we're going to run a quick poll. I'd just like to understand who's in the room and who you think is the most important aspect of quality assurance. So in a moment, Cam, my colleague, who's supporting me today, will open up the poll for you to answer, and there'll be some choices. If you think stakeholder-driven feedback is the most important aspect, then please nominate that in the poll when we open it. If you think standards, principles, and drivers are the most important, then you can nominate that. Or do you think policies and procedures are the most important for quality assurance? Maybe it's great teachers with great qualifications, or maybe it's professional development. So I'm going to get Cam to open up the poll now and give you 30 seconds to put in your answer on what you think is the most important aspect of quality assurance. So if you haven't yet answered the poll, it should be up on your screen. You just need to choose and select your choice on what you think is the most important. We've got some really good answers coming in already, and it looks like it's the tie so far. So make sure you get your vote in. We'll be closing the vote in about another 10 seconds or so. Thank you for those who have voted. And if you haven't yet voted, you've got a couple of seconds. There's always final votes in the end there. Okay, and we're going to close the poll now, and I'm going to share with you the results. So you should be able to see that on your screen now. And we have a winner here, number 2, agreed and transparent standards, principles and drivers. Look, there is no correct answer here. Actually, all of these things are important in quality assurance. Now, quality assurance is about policies and procedures, but if it's just about policies and procedures, then it's not really quality assurance. It's more regulation or accreditation or quality control. Quality assurance looks at trying to understand in an ongoing manner what your stakeholders are saying about you. Now, your stakeholders are students, teachers, professional staff, members of the community, members of the peak bodies, government, regulators. These are all people who are stakeholders for you as an organisation, and important for you to understand what their opinions and feedback of you are. Quality assurance is about interviewing these stakeholders and trying to triangulate the perspectives and the opinions of people and improve on those pieces of feedback. It is also about standards. We have to have a set of standards, and they need to be transparent, and they need to be designed and agreed on by the community, and they need to cross multiple areas of the student experience. We're really big at NEAS on professional development, and we think that's a key aspect of quality assurance as well. You have to be a continuous improvement and a continuously learning organisation, and we think that's important as an element of quality assurance. So, quality assurance, it's a systematic approach to meeting an organisation's obligations, and it's really looking at developing and managing a range of policies, but it's also about thinking about what are the consequences of not meeting those standards, and how do quality assurance agencies like NEAS act as a critical friend to support improvements in your organisation. But the good thing about quality assurance is it helps you avoid duplication and mistakes. Some examples are the NEAS quality endorsement, but also ISO 9000 is another great example of a quality assurance mechanism and process. So people think during COVID we've all had a really difficult time, and priorities are different, and many providers have moved online and doing online delivery, and we're very cognizant that quality assurance can actually drop in priority during times of crisis like COVID. But actually some recent research that we've done and surveying show that people still consider quality assurance as important during times of crisis, or perhaps even more important now that we're in a revive phase of trying to come out of the COVID pandemic. People believe frameworks are essential for our sector, and really it's reputation that's one of the most important things during a time of crisis. So quality assurance is important at all times, but I believe it's important especially during a time of crisis such as what we have now. So our quality assurance framework covers a very wide range of areas. So it's not just about the teaching and learning and the teacher qualifications and the curriculum and the assessment. It's also about an organisation having strategy, a key strategy that's communicated to everyone, and having a sense of risk management and a strong sense of governance. Of course, resources and facilities are important, and this is also the online resource and the online facilities too in our new post-COVID world. Administration, management and staffing and recruiting of staff is something that we look at in our framework. We also look at how the organisation promotes and advertises itself. And all of this is about focusing on the student. It's about a quality experience for the student. And if you can imagine as an analogy, probably a good analogy is to think of a hospital and think of the healthcare system. So you have a hospital, which is like an organisation, and then you also have a patient, which is like a student. But then you have doctors and nurses, which are like the teachers and the professional staff, but then you have the whole community and the healthcare system around that. So quality assurance is like healthcare, and the student is like a patient. There's some strong analogies between healthcare and quality assurance in English language teaching as well. And that helps you conceptualize it's about a systems perspective, not just about the organisation and not just about the teacher. We have some extra areas which we have developed over the last 4 to 5 years. We have some very, very specific guidelines around dealing with young people and under 18s. We have some excellent standards around online delivery, which I'm going to share with you a little bit later today with some research. We also quality assure English language courses as well. So these are the CELTAs or the Deltas or a Master of TESOL or a Cert 4 in TESOL. These courses that are conducted by universities and vocational education and training providers, NIAS also endorses as well. So we're very interested in maintaining high quality, not just for delivery of English language teaching, but also for teacher training as well. We have an endorsement service for products and services, also for education agents, which are very important in Australia. And also we have an endorsement service for individuals as well. And you are invited to participate in the endorsement service for ELT professionals. This is available for participants of this workshop to list and get registered at no cost. So there'll be some more information about that later as well. So it's a full perspective that we look at. And it's an ongoing process. So there's a series of document reviews. We actually come and visit your organization and interview the students and teachers and professional staff. We look at the facilities and meet with management. And then we acknowledge that you have achieved quality endorsement, and you're then allowed to advertise and use all of our marketing materials to promote your organization. We find that NIAS endorsed centres, by using the logo, they can command a higher quality and also a higher brand and reputation, and often a higher price point for their students. So it's a really, really strong brand in Australia, and it's becoming much stronger in Southeast Asia and the ASEAN countries as well. Part of our quality review cycle is annual, and it involves professional development, a visit on every second year, and a self-assessment activity as part of our continuous improvement. You're supported all the way, and we act as a critical friend. We're not a harsh critic. We like to help and support. That's certainly one of our core values at NIAS. So best practice in quality assurance. So even if you're not thinking about joining NIAS or being endorsed by us, you can actually apply these principles in your own school. So if you're a teacher, you might think about how to do quality assurance in your own school with some of these mechanisms. All of our frameworks and our standards are all available online, and you don't have to be endorsed to access those standards. So you can always just go online and look at our standards and try to think about how you can implement some of the quality assurance processes on your own as a starting point in your organization. When you're doing that, you've got to think about some of our best practices that we've seen around the world with quality assurance in English language teaching. Short cycles are very important. You should have an ongoing cycle that repeats and gathers stakeholder feedback from your students and your teachers on a regular basis and takes action on that feedback. Some cycles are very long with, for example, government regulation normally is a 4 to 5 year cycle. So we offer a very short cycle to complement and support some of that government accreditation that you may need to do. High level and focused teacher qualifications is very important. So at NIAS, all of the teachers in our endorsed centres require a degree of some type, plus some type of first teacher qualification. And this also has to include a 6-hour practicum. So we believe it's really important that there's a practicum for teachers to practice and learn in front of real students with feedback from an experienced teacher. We are very interested in standardizing teacher qualifications around our region, and this is one of the key reasons why we're offering these presentations to you today, is that we would like to understand and support what are the minimum teacher qualifications throughout the ASEAN region in order to help teachers mobilize and encourage teachers to be able to move around and teach at different centres and different countries. So this is something that's very important to us and something that's part of our charity purpose. We have very strong standards for welfare and wellbeing for under 18s. Actually, in Australia, this is a very large percentage of the English language teaching community. And in places like the United Kingdom, it's more than 50% of the English language teaching is to under 18s. So it's a very big area and a very high risk area, and one that you need to have special standards and special techniques and policies and systems in place to look after those under 18 young learners. We act as a critical friend, and we deal with any non-compliances or any areas for improvement in this way. We give people opportunities and support and resources to help improve, and we believe this is an important approach to take. It's not a checklist and it's not a pass or fail. It's an ongoing supportive atmosphere. And finally, self-assessment, how to teach people to be self-assuring. This is really important. So it's sustainable, and you have embedded in your organization a lot of key techniques and practices to maintain your ongoing quality assurance. And finally, the stakeholder-driven feedback and online professional development mapped to standards are very, very important things for us. Okay, so that's a little bit of information about quality assurance. And like I said, all of these resources are available online, and you're more than welcome to use them. And if you are interested in quality endorsement, we can certainly follow up with you after this workshop. I'm going to present now some research by NIAS. We do research every year, and we have a number of different key pieces of research which we've undertaken over the last 12 months. I'll look first at some research around online delivery. This is a very new scenario for many people. We've seen a lot of great practice happening with teaching online. We've seen also a lot of not so good practice happening as well. So we were very interested in trying to find out what it means to teach well online, and also what different organizations are doing online. So we'll start with a poll just to understand what type of work you've been doing online. And this poll is asking you to describe which situation best describes your organization's online English language programs. So you can choose to say that you've transformed to online English language courses as a response to COVID, but you intend to return to face-to-face. You transform to online, but you continue to offer online and intend to continue. You're thinking about offering a hybrid or a combination, or you don't offer any online courses in English language. So we're going to open the poll now, Cam, and we're going to see what types of things people are doing in the organizations we have in the room online. Poll is open, folks. Okay, so we've got some votes coming in, and we can also see there's different types of scenarios happening with people in the room. We keep the polls open for another 10 seconds or so. If you haven't voted yet, just choose the poll, choose which one is most relevant to you. Okay, we're going to end the polling now and share the results. So look, this is interesting. Every time we do this poll and ask providers what their intention is around online delivery, we have a lot of people transforming to online delivery, almost in the manner of like an emergency online teaching. And this is very, very quick transformation and transition to online delivery, but then also a very strong intention to return face-to-face as soon as people can. So we can see the majority of the people in this room do intend to return to face-to-face teaching, which is really, really great to see. We have a small percentage who are continuing to offer online into the future, some thinking about a hybrid model and a combination of online face-to-face, and a few who have just continued to teach face-to-face or don't have any English language courses offered online. So it's very interesting, and it's quite similar to the pattern in Australia and with those that we conducted our research with. So what we found with best practice for teaching online from our research, so we interviewed a large segment of students and teachers across Australia and in Southeast Asia on what they were doing in the online space for English language teaching. And from that, we refined our online standards. So NEAS developed a set of standards in 2018 for online delivery for English language teaching. And we've had the opportunity to revise and review those standards over the last 6 months. And these are all available online for you to look at. There's 4 key elements to teaching online. The first one is the design of the online environment really needs to support a positive and engaging user experience. And this really looks at navigation. The navigation of the online environment needs to be intuitive. Things need to be signposted and scaffolded more. You need to have an aesthetically pleasing layout, something that looks good to students, and that's very important to students. And interestingly, students want to see the teacher's online presence more. So this is something that we've got feedback from students, that the teacher needs to maintain a strong online presence, even when they're not physically, teaching in a Zoom or teaching face-to-face. Students are expecting some type of ongoing contact, either through the chat rooms or through email and so on. There needs to be a single location for announcements. Students get confused when there's too many places for information. There's nothing wrong with using different platforms and using different tools, but with regards to information around the course and the course requirements, and especially the assessment requirements, students are saying that they really want a local single source for that information. And finally, it's important to have a range of learning tools in the design process. So both teachers and students are saying there should be a variety of tools and software and different types of activities so you can engage different types of learners. And lastly, students are saying around the online environment and the design that there needs to be some type of forum where there can be feedback. So it can't just be one way, there has to be an opportunity for two-way engagement. So this is our first standard. Each of our standards have multiple drivers underneath them. So it's just a general area, but there's a lot more identified on our website if you want to see more standards and drivers for improving your online delivery. The other key area which we've had feedback on is around learning and assessment. So this I think where many of the providers of English language teaching have found it difficult. They've very quickly converted online and are able to deliver content, but they've really had to experiment with how to do assessment. And some of the great practices we've found with people doing online delivery that's successful is that the assessment being devolved and distributed throughout the whole program. There's not just an end assessment item, there's ongoing formative assessment throughout the actual course. It's important to assess oral skills with a face-to-face element, for example, Zoom or Google Meet or Teams. And it's important that the content is clearly linked to the assessment items. And finally, one of the key pieces of feedback that students have been giving us is they appreciate rubrics and templates. So the more that you can scaffold for assessment for the students, the greater their experience is going to be online. Our third area for teaching online, and that we've got back from our research, is around facilitating learning through different types of resources and technology support. So it's important that students are trained up on the types of tools that they're going to be using. And it's important too that the online delivery works on all devices. So students want to be able to use their mobile phone, use different browsers, and use different types of computers and laptops and personal devices. So it's important it works on as many of those devices as possible. And it's important that any technology is scaffolded as well. So there's help functions available and training for students and teachers on how to use the technology. And finally, this was also a key finding that we've found, is that courses need to be supported by a really good reporting system. And this system needs to give clear information about the orientation and the socialization of the students. There needs to be clear activities and clear instructions, and students really need to be given a clear indication of how much time this will take for them to complete. Also, instructor response time should be clearly stated. So how quickly will the instructor take to get back to the students? And any information about netiquette should be clear as well. So we did a series of surveys, and we surveyed not just the teachers and the organizations that were teaching using English, but also the students. And we analyzed the difference in opinions between the students and the teachers to try and work out which areas were the weakest areas in online delivery. And so those 4 areas that I talked to, you can see here that the students, when they are assessing the online delivery in English language teaching, they're consistently not satisfied or disappointed or think differently or less to the quality of the online delivery than the actual teachers or the providers. So this is a really key element. If you're not getting student feedback about your online courses and about your technology, then you're perhaps missing an opportunity to improve and act on those specific student feedback items. And you can see here that there's a strong difference between self-assessment of the centres and student assessment of the centres. Specifically, the most performing or outperforming areas, so these are positive areas. Students are happy that content is linked to formal assessment activities, and they love automated feedback. So if you can build automated feedback into your online delivery, this will make students happy. Students are happy to train up in the technical skills and the technology, and if they're given an opportunity to do that, that's a really positive thing. And finally, any self or peer assessment activities really need to be supported by templates and rubrics. So these are structures and scaffolds for students to attempt those self-assessment items or those peer assessment items. So it's really important to have rubrics in place. Conversely, the weakest areas, or the things that people really wanted to focus more on, and these were the biggest gaps between what the students were saying and what the teachers and the others were saying about their online delivery. Students feel that there should be more learner motivation. There should be more different types of learning tools, and these should be involved more in the design process. So this might be using different types of tools and online activities, but it also might be having some variety in the style of content presentation that you're presenting and the style of assessment activities. Variety is key. Another big gap between what the students were actually experiencing and what the teachers were saying they were doing was around giving explicit instructions. So it's very important to have clear instructions for students and at the right time in the right amount of information. So we've seen some providers offer all of the instructions and the information at the very beginning in the orientation, but they don't reinforce that throughout the whole course, and students just forget what the instructions were at the beginning. So it's important to have those delivered the right amount at the right time. And finally, really important, you've got to have a visual element somewhere in your course design. If you're not using Zoom or you're not using Google Meet or Teams, please try and think of some other way to give students an opportunity to connect visually with one another and also visually with the instructor. In English language teaching, I think this is a really key element so you can get all the 4 skills practiced. There's some of the pieces of feedback we've had from our research. I think we're just going to jump into another poll and just to understand what type of learners we have in the room. So we're going to open our third and final poll today, which is really trying to understand what describes you the best as a person. Do you learn by thinking? Do you learn by feeling? Do you learn by watching, doing? Or interestingly, do you learn by teaching? So we're going to open the poll, thanks Cam, and we'll see what people are, what type of learners we have in the room. Okay, we've just got the poll open there for another 10 seconds or so. Okay, we've got a lot of thinkers in the room and a lot of observers, but also a lot of action-oriented people as well. So that's good to see. Another couple of seconds and we'll just share the results. Okay, I'm going to end poll now. Okay, so just shared the results there. Yeah, look, great to see. We've got a lot of active people in the room, a lot of people who learn by doing, and that's good. And I also think it's important as teachers for us to remember that often a great way to learn is to actually try and teach something. And this is something that we probably do anyway in our very busy lives. We might be just a couple of steps ahead of the student and quickly learning before we actually teach. So that's great to see some people acknowledging that in the room as well. Okay, so I'm going to move into one last piece of research that we've just finished. This is very much hot off the press and looks at what stakeholders around the country in Australia and also around the world are thinking about the role of an independent, non-governmental quality assurance specialist. So this is to help understand what people are doing with quality assurance in the community, but also how quality assurance might complement the regulators, the government, the ministries, and the various other checks and balances that happen in the community for English language teaching. So NIAS was very interested in hearing people's views on the importance of quality assurance and how NIAS as an independent, non-governmental quality assurance specialist could help the ELT community. So our research looked at a lot of surveys, and also we had a series of in-depth interviews with some key members of the Australian community, and we also had some focus groups as well. So a very broad range of people contributed to this research, right from the Australian government through to students and teachers, peak bodies, and our state and government representatives in Australia. We also interviewed some of our Quayland counterparts, the British Council, Feltham, and a few other counterparts around the world to understand what was happening in their country as well. And interestingly, quality and quality assurance is important to government regulators. And this is viewed as a very important mechanism to not just keep the quality of the individual organizations and the teachers and the curriculum at a high level, but really to help support the brand of the country and the export of the country. It's a key important element is quality assurance and the acknowledgement that an independent and non-governmental quality assurance specialist can really bring a lot of value to the community. A destination of choice, if the country is interested in being a destination of choice for English language teaching, which I know Thailand is, it's important to have a brand that's associated to independent quality assurance, and quality education is vital. It's not just about sunny beaches and great campuses. It's about quality of the delivery of the English language teaching. Quality assurance does matter to Australia and to the greater ASEAN and Asian region. Quality is becoming more important and more of a focus for English language teaching. and the support and guidance that quality assurance provides is really valued by the individual providers. It's all about the student, of course, and if the student is happy, the teacher is happy, and if the teacher is happy, the organisation is happy, and if the organisation is has a good sense of well-being, is very reflective on their delivery, this can command a higher price point and a more competitive value offer to prospective students. And finally, in the midst of all of this disruption, it's great to see that there's still a strong sense of the importance of quality assurance. And now is the time to look at quality assurance if you haven't already. If things ramp up again and students start coming back, now's the time to get all of your house in order and look at some systems and processes around quality assurance before the students come back to the face-to-face teaching in the future. So we can help you do this. You are more than welcome to become an ES ELT professional. The link is here and we'll be sending this through to you. This is a free service. You can get listed on our website and actually start to participate in our online courses. All of our courses are aligned with our quality assurance framework, and they're designed to train people up on how to do quality assurance themselves. So the first thing to do is to get listed yourself and start the ball rolling with doing some of our micro credentials. So the types of micro credentials you can do are on the website. You could become an associate member. This gives you access to further resources and access to discounted prices for some of our paid activities, such as our conference. If your centre is interested in becoming endorsed, there's a process for that. We're happy to help you out with more information. Core courses are aligned with each of the quality assurance areas, and you're more than welcome to participate in those as a no-cost activity, being a participant of this workshop. And then if you're interested in doing more specializations, they're available as well for a small fee. And we have all sorts of different specializations. We have drama and English language teaching, leadership, education agents, looking at strategy, risk and governance. We have specializations around teaching English and developing qualifications for teachers. There's a lot in there and a lot to have a look at, and we encourage you to look at our website. And finally, we have a very, very new Master Practitioner in English language teaching. This is our capstone course. We released this from July this year. It's a very new course, and it's designed to act as a small piece of action research that you can undertake with support from NEAS. And this looks at how you're putting quality assurance into your role as a teacher in your English language school. So you're able to go through our core courses, complete some of our specializations, and then once you've done that, you should be ready then to start your Master Practitioner. And badge you can then use on your business card or on your CV or actually on any other materials that you do around your presentations and so on. So we offer you the opportunity to become a Master Practitioner by doing our online courses. Excuse me. And then finally, there's an opportunity to become endorsed as an individual. So there's a lot of opportunity there for ELT professionals, and this includes teachers, but it also includes agents, professional staff, managers, anyone involved in the ELT community. Our Master Practitioner is our capstone course, and this is new, as I said, and you're also invited to attend our conference next year. If you take endorsements before the end of this year with your centre, part of our special offer to our Austrade friends who are participating today is that we will help support you to attend the conference in Sydney next year in May. So for details of that special promotion for endorsement, you're more than welcome to follow up with us after this workshop. If you can't make it to Sydney, you can participate in the conference online. Next year, we'll be streaming the conference, and there'll be lots of online activities for those members that can't come to Sydney. Our theme next year is transformation. and transformative journeys in education. It's a perfect theme for our current times, and we'd love for you to participate. So we're almost at the end now. We're going to have question time in a minute, but I'd just like to come back to our focus questions at the beginning that we looked at. What's your experience with quality assurance? Have you learned a little bit today? I hope you have, and I hope you're interested in some type of quality assurance, either for yourself or for your centre or for your organisation. I'm interested to hear feedback either through the chat room or through follow-up afterwards on what type of professional development do you think suits Thai teachers? Do you folks want to do more online? Would you like to study more by yourself and do some of our asynchronous online courses? Or do you really prefer to have a face-to-face in-classroom experience? All of those are possible. NIAS does all that type of professional development, and we'd love to work with you in the future on helping train up your teachers. From a bigger perspective, how can Australia and the ASEAN region work more collaboratively? I mentioned a little earlier, we have a charitable initiative of trying to help standardize English language teachers across the region. If you have any other great ideas about that, we'd love to hear from you. And finally, look, I think it's important that teachers view themselves as leaders, not just the king of their own class, but also leaders in the community and leaders in their organizations. So if you have any great ideas about how teachers can be better leaders, I'd love to hear that as well. So I think we're going to move to the question and answer now. We've got about 5 minutes, which is great. Any questions you can throw into the chat room. They're going to be moderated by our Austrade colleagues, and I'm happy to have a go at answering them. We might just actually open up now so we can see everyone's faces, if that's okay. So I'm going to stop the share, and we'll open up our videos if you'd like to jump back in, so we can view and say hello and hear any questions that you might have if you want to throw those into the chat room. Okay. Over to you, Busarin. We can't hear you.
You would need to unmute. You're still muted. I've sent through some requests.
No, it's still unmuted. Look, I might have while Busarin's just working that out. Are you back? No, she's still unmuted. I'll leave Busarin to work that out. So we've got a couple of questions popping in. So I think one of the key questions is the NIAS quality endorsement relevant to English language schools in Thailand? And look, it's a good question. And is it recognised also by the various ministries and government bodies in Thailand? NIAS endorsement is highly regarded in Australia by the regulatory authority and by government. It is certainly one of the elements on mitigating risk, and certainly something that's considered and highly regarded by the government and regulators in Australia. The Australian government and regulators have various agreements with different ASEAN countries, and although we are not recognised by the ministry in Thailand because we're an Australian entity, it certainly goes a long way. The brand is very recognised amongst teachers and amongst agents, and they're becoming more recognised by different ministries around the ASEAN region. We're recognised by the Ministry of Education and Training in Vietnam, and we're working very hard to get recognised by the other ministries as well. Busarin, you're still offline. We still can't hear you. Maybe your colleague can answer a question.
Yeah, sure. Thanks, Patrick. Yep. Hi, everyone. I'm Emmett from Austrade. Patrick, there's another question that's come through, if you're interested in answering, which is around what opportunities do people on the call and their colleagues have in terms of joining NEAS for some online courses for personal PD?
Yeah, good question. As I mentioned, everyone in this workshop is eligible to participate in our online courses. We have a series of core courses. I think there's 9 courses there which are mapped against our quality assurance framework. Those core courses are at no cost to the participants of this workshop. So feel free to get listed as an ELT professional and jump into those core courses. They're available on the website on our NEAS online webpage. And certainly we look forward to seeing you in those courses. With regards to more customized professional development or some of those specializations and masters, there's a small cost associated for doing those extension courses. If you're interested in PD specifically for your center, so you'd like for me to do some type of Zoom meeting or virtual PD, I'm very happy to have a discussion with you about that, and happy to share some elements from our learning in Australia with your team if you want to set something like that up. Certainly, once you become endorsed, if your center chooses to go through the endorsement process, all of your teachers and staff have access to the online professional development. That's part of the endorsement service. And you also have access to one of your staff members attending the conference in Sydney in May. So please think about undertaking the endorsement process sometime this year. This offer is for this year, and the reason why we're offering it now is we believe that things will get busy again next year, and as it gets busier, you often then lose track of the opportunity to focus on going through the application process. Okay, so any other questions that have come through? We've got a little bit more time. Yeah.
Perhaps just one more, Patrick. I think it's pretty pertinent. There's a question here around whether or not education agents can become NEAS members, and whether agents can partner with NEAS.
Yes, so certainly we have an endorsement for education agents, and you can check that out on our website as well. And you can become an NEAS endorsed education agent by going through this process. Then allows you to use our endorsement logos and also connect you to Australian endorsed partners. There's also an opportunity to do some training as well as an agent using our online courses. So if you're an agent in the room and you want to become endorsed, check out our website, Quality Education Agents. It's on the neas.org.au, and or contact Austrade or contact me directly, and we can give you more information about that. Busrin, are you back with us, or are we going to miss you for the end of our workshop? Did you get the sound working? No one here. Okay, well, let's all give Busrin a wave. If you'd like to come back on and just say goodbye, it'd be great to see your smiley faces again. Thank you for participating today. I hope you caught some of the information and it was helpful for you. And I look forward to communicating and connecting with you in the future. Have a great afternoon, everyone, and thanks for joining. Thank you, and thank you for Austrade for organising.